I'm going to tell you a few stories in this episode because I feel the stories will help you to put the need to learn how to find good buyers into proper perspective. Um, Even as I continue to meet people who come to me with the same demand, they want me to help them to find buyers. They want me to, refer them to somebody that will buy what they're selling. They hear that I know how to sell, they hear my stories, but they don't think they can kind of become like me and be able to find good quality buyers. Instead, they're thinking, okay, if you're so good at finding buyers, let him help me find buyers. Help me. And I keep saying, no, empower yourself by learning how to be like me, because that's the only way. It's better I teach you how to fish than to give you fish. So let me tell you a few stories that prove you need to learn to be that way. Okay, the first story I'm going to tell has to do with when I started out, okay, and I was looking for clients. And at that time, what I was selling mainly is what I'm doing now, but I've chosen to use the internet platform. At that time, I was doing a lot of pavement pounding, going around as a public speaker, offering my talks, making preparing flyers and letters, offering my training programs. I was offering training on self-development, on Excel, Visual Basic programming, things like that. I was offering to teach people how to do a lot of that. Unfortunately, I did not understand the market I was dealing with. I did not understand the society I was in. This was in 2003 down to 2006, 2007. Okay, I went into leverage more of the internet. But before then, I had to learn that the society I was in, if I wanted to move around face to face, I was going to have to deal with one big problem. What's that problem? It's the problem of the Nigerian factor. I call it the Nigerian nonsense. So I'm going to tell you the first. It has to do with a friend of mine. We actually went to the same secondary school. And later on, we ran into each other. He had also graduated from the same institution I went to. I don't want to describe too much the details about our backgrounds because I don't want to feel I'm exposing anybody. One day we met. He was into the business of installing this DSTV dishes. At that time, it was very popular. If you think back to those years, about 2003, 2005, we're still doing all these DSTV dishes and other people used to go around make money installing or DSTS, those satellites or whatever they call them. This friend of mine, let's call him D. All right, we met and I asked him how was things going, and he was telling me how he was actually kind of trying to find his feet doing that business, getting the contracts and all that. I think fast forward 1 or 2 years later, I ran into him again. We had another discussion, and we were talking about the same things, the issue of people demanding for bribes and stuff like that. But he now told me he attended some entrepreneurship training in Nigeria. They attended it in Abuja, if I recall correctly. And he said after the 3-day or 4-day event, they were kind of rounding up and they were being asked to maybe give their final thoughts, questions, contributions, and stuff like that. And he said he raised his hand and said he wanted to know from the organizer, the facilitators, why, despite the fact that they had gone through 3 days of lectures and all that about how being an entrepreneur, succeeding, and they talked on everything. He said he noticed that something stood out very clearly. They had not talked at all about the problem of the Nigerian factor. Specifically, the issue that if you do not give bribes, in fact, you get them asked for bribes directly or indirectly, and if you fail to give in, more often than not, you will lose that opportunity to make a sale to that organization. It could be a big organization, it could be a small organization. It's a widespread practice. We all know it's true. I'm not in the business of ego massaging. I'm not in the business of self-delusion. So my podcast series is designed to speak truth and to tell people how to get real solutions, not to perpetuate the nonsense that exists, that a lot of people do, the pretense. So that's why I'm talking like this. If you don't like it, please switch off my channel. You can delete my video. Now, so he said this. And he said the facilitator responded by saying, that's because we can't bring that kind of subject onto the table for discussion. He now said, he replied that you can't bring it out on the table and then you're teaching us all this. And you're not telling us that when we go out, we've done our business plans, we've done our logos, we've prepared our vision statements, we've packaged our products, we've put in our best work. But that when we get to the company that we're going to try and sell to, when we get to the group or association we're going to try and sell to, so long as we're not dealing with an individual, because it's different with individuals, we are going to most likely get asked to do this under the table nonsense in order for us to actually win the contract. And if we say no, we might actually lose, no matter how well prepared we are in terms of the quality of the solution we offer. And the guy said, well, that's it. He said they just shut him down. And he said that for him was the last straw. He said, as I was speaking to him, he was actually preparing his papers, applying for a job with a company in Canada. As I speak to you today, he's been abroad now since then. I think 2 years later, he got the job. He left this country with the same university degree he had back then, the same geology degree he had back then. He moved to a company in Canada, was earning like tons of salaries, and then he moved to the US later on. I've not spoken with him in a long time, but I do know he was doing very well last time I spoke with him. He said that while he was there, this is the thing, the icing on the cake now, while he was there in Canada, he began to get job offers right from Nigeria, where he had struggled to get job offers before, that had made him go and start doing DSTV installations. He began to get offers from oil companies right here in Nigeria. They would actually come to him in his company in Canada to make offers to him that were so mouth-watering. He said he then told them, do you know that I still do not have an extra degree? I still have not gone for any different kind of training. All I have is what I had when I was in Nigeria. Nothing has changed except the fact that I physically moved to work in a company in Canada. You've now come to me, you're offering me this package. Why should I take it up? Because you see, the package might be mouth-watering, but the socio-economic environment is still the same. Now I have a better life here. Sorry, I don't want what you're giving me or what you're offering me. And so that was how it ended. But the reason why I told you that story is for you to understand that you are in a society where people will not value you for what you bring to the table. You have to make them value you. You have to go where you will be valued and respected. Then when you've achieved that status there, it will command more respect from those people that refuse to value. So even within Nigeria, you can still find people that will value you. You don't have to travel, but you have to do it right. So what I'm about to offer you in this audio, and in this series, what I'm offering in this entire Finding Good Buyers series, is what I call street wisdom as against textbook theory. That's why I tell people all the time, if you want to sell, you cannot go with what is in the quote-unquote textbooks from sales and marketing, because those things don't work the way they should in the Nigerian social space. Because you are the best doesn't mean you get chosen as the number one person for the job. Whether you are in a salary job and they're trying to decide who to promote, or whether you are an entrepreneur, you are selling a solution, you are the best comedian, you are the best makeup artist, or whatever, you are the best caterer, you are the best hairstylist, it doesn't matter what you do. When you want to do that wedding, even the husband and the wife that want to choose, depending on who is in charge, you may find out that you may be the best, but they may not choose you to be the one to be the makeup artist, or the one to do the bride's makeup. Believe me, it may be. I've met makeup artists who do jobs that it pay them, I think, 200,000 or even more. But I've heard also from them that it's not necessarily because they were the best, but because they knew somebody and somebody, or because they paid somebody and somebody. I mean, this is just somebody's wedding, so you just have to pay one parent or two parents, and yet even in there, the Nigerian nonsense holds sway. So how do you survive in this kind of market where sharks are all over the place, including even amongst, you see, you want to go to a client to get paid. You want to add value to the client to get paid, and you have sharks there waiting to eat you up. How do you deal with that? So that's why I'm going to tell you the next story. The next story has to do with in a friend's restaurant. Just yesterday, we were discussing about this same problem, and he chose to chime in, and he said he wanted to share a story with us. It's along the lines of what I was just describing. And he said, look, he had been given a job by a gentleman whose daughter was getting married to prepare to help them do the wedding decoration, or I don't know what they call it, event decoration, whatever they call it. And that he had done a quote of 300,000, which he was supposed to hand it over to the wife, that's the mother of the bride to be. And when he got there, he took the quote and gave it to her. She read through it and looked up at him and said, make this thing up to 0.5. So it was 0.3 million, he said. And he told her, I said, no, madam, even normally, this thing I normally charge about 0.2, 0.25. The only reason why I made it 0.3 million is because some of the prices of some of the things I use have changed, and by necessity I had to now increase my price. And you know, a guy I've known a guy for some time, blah, blah. The woman shut him up, gave him a dirty look and shut him up and said, listen, I can easily tell him that your work is not going to be as good as that of somebody else we know. all this noise you are making here, if I tell him now, he's going to believe me and we're just going to dump you and we're not going to give you this job. Go and make this thing up to 0.5 million and bring it back. Don't annoy me. And that was how she just, dismissed him. So he looked at himself and said, look, this is the man's wife. I shouldn't make this one my fight now. He's the one that married her. Let me just do my own thing and get paid. So he went and redid the invoice, brought it back. He said the money was out that same day. That is, the transfer was done by the man. She just took it to him. The transfer was done. He said, and as soon as he did it, he said she sent him an SMS immediately that with the account, her own account details, you should transfer her 1.2 million from it straight into her account. And he said he had to do that before he could even get the job started. Now, this second story illustrates the reality that many people are facing in Nigerian social space as skilled people. When you have a skill and you are a lone entrepreneur, a solo entrepreneur, an independent consultant, and you have to deal with whether individuals or organizations that are in decision-making position, the people that can sign a check, and they are not signing the check for themselves alone. It's not for them. More often than not, they are not even the owners of the job you are going to do, but they are like the gatekeepers or the ones in charge. They are the ones that have the responsibility. So it's not like it's them you are working for, but they are the ones that have been put there for you to relate with in order to get the job done. Those kinds of people always want to get a piece of the action in Nigeria. But I've had to meet with some entrepreneurs who had to give up their own profits to keep the project and just stay in the loop so that they could get other jobs they will hopefully become profitable on, because they had no choice. Or let me put it this way, they felt they had no choice. All right. So this is the reason why you need to learn how to find good quality, or what I call profitable buyers. You don't want to deal with that, or let me put it this way. If you don't want to deal with that kind of Nigerian nonsense, then you've got to learn to be like me. I'm not bragging. Those who know me, including family, relatives, if you read my work, go to the internet and type Tayo Solagbade. The Solagbade is without an H. So it's Solagbade. Tayo, Tayo. Tayo Solagbade. Put a comma and then type Bambiala. Bambiala. You see a story there in a PDF. Open it and read it. You see how much humiliation I suffered, because, listen, if I had played the game, I would have been making big bucks a long time ago. I know the kind of people I moved with. I know the kind of people I did jobs for when I started. They told me how they were doing business. And they told me how they had to grease palms to the tune sometimes of up to $1 million or $2 million, even more, depending on what the size of the project they were aiming for was. Some of them hired me to do jobs for them that they then resold. In other words, they paid me, for instance, to build a software for them, sometimes in the oil sector, and then they will resell it to the big client. I wasn't interested in that because I knew what the big clients, the representatives there were doing, asking for from them. They were literally greasing those people's palms in order for them to be the ones to deliver that solution. But I had the skill. So what I preferred to do was let the man who is willing to deal with me on my own terms pay me. So he paid me 100,000 naira upfront cash, and within 10 working days, I delivered this software to him, ready to use. And that was my own. I walked away from it. I didn't want the Nigerian nonsense. I never wanted it. I never will. It's a choice. Some people told me you are going to go hungry, your family is going to suffer, your children will be hungry. I agreed. I told them, yes, I'm going to live with that reality. But I told them also, I will find a way around the Nigerian nonsense. I will not settle for it. Some of these people were people who, some of them, husband and wife, were workers in the church. Some were deacons in the church. And they were telling me, Tayo, when you want to do business in Nigeria, you put church aside, because you see, you have no choice. You can't beat the system. How can a person that believes in an almighty creator, a creator that is all powerful, that can move mountains, say that he cannot defeat the Nigerian nonsense? And then I, who do not even attend church, who do not believe in religion, can go and find a solution that works. I do business both with Nigerians and with non-Nigerians internationally. And I do not give any bribe to anybody. That is why I can speak publicly about it, because I have no skeletons in my cupboard. What I'm telling you is this. If you know you want to do business without having to give bribes to anybody, without needing to know anybody, without being put around, made to jump through hoops to get customers and to get paid, you need to learn how to find good buyers using the ideas and strategies I describe in this series. All right. Now, let me share a third story, and I'm going to do more of these stories as I go along. I'm going to use the stories to communicate another lesson as I share even more of the strategies about how to find good buyers. So this third story I want to share with you in this particular episode has to do with, I think this happened in 2004, if I recall correctly. I had been invited by the Center for Management Development to deliver my talk. It was titled Self-Development as a Tool for Achieving Career Advancement. That was a paper I had written just before I resigned from Guinness, Nigeria, and training and technical development manager. And I had written it deliberately to use as a marketing tool for my self-development training and coaching. So I sent copies of it all over the place. Even I remember the personal assistant at that time, he was Dr. Pat Utomi at the Lagos Business School. I had sent a copy to him, and I got a call from his PA who told me that he'd asked her to book an appointment for him to speak with me in his office. And eventually I met with him in his office. He asked me several questions. It never really went anywhere. I wasn't looking for anything per se, but it was just that I was curious to see what he would say about my. Only just commended me on writing it and then just said I should keep in touch. Nothing happened. But the thing is, I felt that was noteworthy. And in line with that, I then found I was approached. I actually had a team. The training manager from the Center for Management Development came with a letter inviting me to deliver my talk they had an event, I think it was in September, at the Center for Management Development for all the staff, the directors and senior, I don't know, they were management level. And I was there to give that talk. And after I gave it, I got very great reviews from from the key attendees and all that. The point I'm making is, having had that exposure, I thought, and they even said it. I remember one of them told me, I think it was the training manager, that said, look, if any organization hears that you delivered this kind of lecture at our event and that we gave you this kind of high ratings, because I did have my testimonial forms filled by them, and they would actually invite you to come and do it for their employees. And that was the kind of, I remember I wrote a thank you letter to them and it wrote me back. So it was a kind of endorsement of sorts. So I thought, I have this weapon based on what I learned from Bud Dubin about speaker marketing. I thought, okay, so I've done all the right things. I've gotten to the right places. This is the So if they are giving me this kind of endorsement, it should give me greater credibility before these other companies. What a joke. Believe me, I sent out more than 50 letters. I mean, I'm going to talk about later. If you see the stuff I put in it, all the printouts of I had a brief that was 4 pages thick, blah, 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 all those things. Not a single phone call. And this is normal. I mean, I was already prepared for that. It was what happened subsequently that really made me realize I was pouring water into a basket, as Yorubas would say, mundami sakwere. And you don't want to do that because that's unintelligent. You don't use a basket to fetch water from the stream with it. Because if you did, you will not even get more than a few centimeters away before the basket will run out of water. You can't fetch anything. So that's like wasting your time. That's what is a figurative expression. And so that was what I was doing effectively, trying to do the marketing without playing the game it was meant to be played. The way it was meant to be played. So one gentleman who ran into my stuff in one of the institutions in Lagos, I don't want to be too detailed because it's not for me. I don't need to create any problems for anybody. So he called me. That day, I think I went to his office to discuss with him. And he said, oh yeah, I saw some of your stuff, blah, 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 at so and so place. Oh, so you are the one. And then he tells me, wow, you have great content. You spoke at CMD. Wow, I know them, blah, blah, blah. Right. But I have some, sit down. Can we talk? And I said, yes, why not? And he went on to give me, quote unquote, a short coaching session on how to win training jobs. That's to win training contracts with Nigerian companies. And what he basically did was to bring out some of his own material and show me invoices, like LPOs and all that he had done for past jobs where he did training along the lines of engineering training for tradesmen, craftsmen, and all that in companies, large companies that needed all these people that are city and guilds, those kind of things. And he then told me the reason, did I know why nobody was calling me? I said, no, but it didn't make sense. He said, yes, it doesn't make sense. But the thing is, I'm very sure they've given you the signs, but you're not getting it. It's obvious that you don't know the game, how the game is played. I said, well, I don't know what you're talking about. And he said, well, if you don't go and talk to them and ask them what they want, or even make them an offer of something under the table, he said, nobody's ever going to call you. It's going to be very, very rare for anybody to call you. He said, because look at mine. He now showed me one example. he had about 20 or 15 people on a list, on kind of as part of an invoice he had prepared. And for every person, the fee was 15,000 naira for the 5-day training. So he said the 15,000 naira for each person. He said that 15,000 naira was not all coming to him. He said for every individual, 3,000 naira out of the 15,000 naira was being given to the training manager. They had agreed on it. So it was because he agreed to it that the training contract was given to him. If he had said no, according to him, he would have been given to the next man who was just waiting in line. And he said that was the way they did business, and that was what they were expecting me to do. I couldn't just come in and send in a paper and just expect they would just choose me and then just give me the job and just pay me and I'll just walk away. I'll tell you this, he wasn't wrong. But I'll also tell you, I did go on to do jobs for some companies and I didn't pay a dime to anybody. MTN, I'm mentioning names now. MTN hired me to train their national distribution manager in 2000 and I think it was 2003. This well, and I got paid, and not a couple of my money went to anybody, right? And I did a good job because the man who I trained remains friends with me today. And the truth of the matter, the issue is that his boss, who was South African, who was leaving, wanted somebody competent to take over. And when that guy was picked, they had to, they had to wait for me to get my company registered at the CAC so that I come and do the job. Why? They asked people to send in demos, and all the demos were reviewed by this gentleman from South Africa. According to them, I just had this later. My demo, when he saw it, he said, whoever did this demo is the person I want to do this job. And he got in touch with me and said, man, congratulations that your demo was bam, blah, blah, blah. Right, so all we need now is your company details, sending your CAC paper. And I said, I don't have. He said, well, the company does not deal with individuals. You've got to have a registered company, blah, 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 the CAC. And because of that, they had to wait 2 weeks. The company gave me 2 weeks to get those papers done. So I had to ask for help with my brother in Abuja. They did it. I'm giving those details because I want you to see. Because it wasn't just a straightforward thing. I was the exception. So everything was different. I didn't expect that, I didn't know the rules. I was just coming with an open mind. And so anyway, I got my paper, my company incorporated, and then I got the papers, submitted them, and then I did the job, and I got paid. I remember going to VI to get my check, to pick up my check. I still have photocopies. In fact, I even have photocopies of all the documents. The thing is, I did business with that company, and subsequently, I was hired by another man who saw me give my talk. Or I think he heard about my talk. He used to be a manager at the CMD. Heard about my talk. When I went to the company where he was now a partner, he then invited me because he had his own consulting firm, and he hired me to come and do training for management trainees, to give a talk to them at Tantalizers. It's all on if you go to my LinkedIn profile, you see the stuff I'm talking about. So this is it's not like a secret or something. I spoke with 14 management trainees there, and the reviews they gave me were amazing. I still have copies. Now, my point is this. In these instances because these are one of the few instances where I actually did business with entities like that, and I had time doing it. Subsequently, I didn't succeed in that manner. I had to go with individuals. I had to start targeting individual business owners. So I was talking to CEOs directly of small and medium-sized businesses because I couldn't reach the big ones, because I had to go through those individuals that were asking for all those nonsense. So I decided I don't want this rubbish, and I moved and said the only way then is to deal directly with individuals who needed help, or business owners who had small companies that they were the main people you had to speak with. So there was nobody that was a middleman that you had to go through. So that way I was able to sell. But at this time, those kind of 2 examples I gave you were what I did, and I didn't have to pay anybody. All I had to do was to show my stuff. But you see, because the frequency at which I would get such jobs was so low, I knew I couldn't survive like that. And this was the period where I was just borrowing money left, right, and center. That's why I said I was a Bambiala of the Solagbade family. So it was tough, man. But I told myself, I was resolved, I will find a way. And what was the way I found? I found an intelligent way to use the web to remove that layer of Nigerian nonsense from the equation for me. I found out that if you use the web, you can attract the Nigerians that are looking for solutions, even the ones that are representing companies. They know that they will try their nonsense with you through the web, But because you have a screening process in place, if you've listened to my previous videos, you know what I'm talking about. There's a screening process in place to remove time wasters. Once that screening process is there, it doesn't matter whether they're representing a company, whether the company is international or local. That screening process will eliminate 99% of all the idiots that want to waste your time. So you are going to be protected. You'll be able to have good quality sales conversations. And that's the goal here. You want to have good quality sales conversation. You want to get taken seriously. You want to be able to win good jobs that will enable you to show what you can do and be fulfilled. Your client will be happy, you will be happy, win-win. So basically that's what this is about. This series is designed to help you defeat the Nigerian nonsense. Who is it most useful for? I'll tell you. It's useful for anybody who wants to make honest money. You may not become a multi-millionaire overnight. Even better, the truth of the matter is that people like you will be in demand because you are actually competent. Unlike the other guys that just prepare all these invoices and come out and offer these solutions because they know they have somebody on the inside that's going to help them to pass the thing and get the thing signed off so that they can go and get paid. That kind of business will not really be so easy to do anymore like it used to be in the past before the coronavirus pandemic broke everything down. So you want to learn these methods that I describe in this series. Another group that will find this video series very useful will be the people who are being told now that they have to learn skills before they leave school. So all these young people that are coming to the market, for me, my dream is that young people should learn that they can do business without giving bribes, without doing all the Nigerian nonsense. So if somebody teaches them how to do self-marketing, how to go about business marketing in a way that enables them to attract good quality clients without needing to do anything dishonest or illegitimate, then suddenly they will no longer be vulnerable to being exploited by these people that are so-called gatekeepers in these companies. So, because once a guy has a marketing system in place that enables him to command respect and to command the income that he deserves or she deserves for being good at what she does, they will no longer be afraid. They will no longer give in to the pressure to do business the dirty way. When you are giving up like half of your income, half of your profits because you want to make sure that they give you the contract, then you have to work twice as hard to support yourself and to support your family. But when you know that the system you have in place will enable you to command the income that you want and make the profits that are due to you, that you deserve, then you will not need to be afraid of anybody anymore. So I want the young people that are coming out to understand that you can do business in this country and internationally if you leverage PC and internet technology the way I describe using in this my video series titled Finding Good Buyers. Because believe me, 99% of what I'm going to talk about in this video series has to do with using PC and internet technology to give yourself that edge to get around the Nigerian nonsense and to get around any other corruption or any other corrupt practices anywhere you may find yourself on the planet. You will be able to do business with people that need your solutions and have value enough to pay you what you are worth. And once you can do that, then you're successful. The problem is people don't know how to do that. They don't teach them how to sell. So because they don't know how to sell, any opportunity to sell this they get, they are willing to they just act desperate and they give in to any demand that's made of them. And many of them, sometimes they're just living from hand to mouth, even though they are good at what they do. And I'm trying to give you a different experience. So if you like what I've described as the benefits you're going to get from joining, from following me on this series, from subscribing to my channel, from watching my videos, then please join me on this journey because it's a never-ending journey. Marketing is a timeless strategy. The kind of marketing I'm talking about is a timeless strategy. It's never-ending. It's perpetual because marketing is the lifeblood of any business, including self-marketing for job recruitment. You are looking for a job as a person that wants to be employed in a company. You have to market yourself. It's the same thing. It's the same philosophy. It's the same strategy, same ideas. All you have to do is do it right. If you do it right, you position yourself properly, you use PC and internet technology to your advantage, you will not need to beg anybody and you will certainly not need to bribe anybody. If that is the reality you want to have, where you will never need to worry tomorrow about how you're going to get the next check and all that, where you know that anytime a company is discussing with you, you know that you're not going to have to worry about parting with part of your money for some idiot, then please join me on this journey. If you have questions, post them in the comments. Let me share one more thing with you. I want to let you know now, if you want to follow the crowd, you are not going to find anybody easily, at least not easily, who will tell you that he understands the ideas I'm describing or I'm preaching in this series. So if you're looking for someone to tell you, yeah, well done, Kono, this Tayo's ideas are good, follow it, it's very unlikely. You see, it's a lot of hard work. people don't like to go the hard route, the straight and narrow path. They don't like it. They don't like things that take long. It may not even take long for you compared to how long it took for me to get it, for me to crack the code. It may not take that long because you are following my guidelines and I'm going to support you. But the truth is, you still have to do the hard work. You've got to create your own brand and promote it the way I'm going to describe in this series. So you're going to have to follow my instructions. And these people are going to be telling you you're just punishing yourself for nothing because they like the easy way. So don't think you'll be able to follow the crowd to do what I'm talking about. You're not going to find people that are going to be cheering you and telling you well done. In fact, you will find that this video series is not going to be, for now anyway, I know it won't be so popular, but I do know people will pick it up. And here's the truth. Quite often, I have found out in my journey that the things I sell and the stuff I do and the way I do them, they are not popular. So you can imagine that people will not be rushing there. But be careful. Whenever the crowd is moving in a particular direction, it is often wise to take a good look at where they are going. Ask yourself, why are they all going that direction? And try and look the other way and check to see if it will not be wiser for you to go the other way. Very often you find it's better to go the opposite direction to where the crowd is going. But you see, it takes courage to do that because that means you're going to stand out from the crowd. Do you have that courage? It's going to make the difference between you being a success and you being one of the crowd. You have to decide. Finally, what I'm going to say is this. Going forward, if you are going to learn from me, please understand, you cannot cut any corners. If you want to succeed, and that's why I'm making this a free series, nobody can come and tell me that I took money. But you see, if you want me to help you, oh, believe me, I can make a world of difference for you in terms of how you implement right from the ground up. But you can do this on your own as well. Just follow my instructions. You can also chat me up on the question and answer live session, and I'll answer your questions. But I tell you, the stuff I'm sharing with you are the same things I used to achieve the success I'm describing. If you want to be able to sell, all right, without needing to beg anybody, without needing to know the people up front or to know anybody that knows anybody that needs to buy, this is what you need to do.